think if a year from now, Kevin Durant will look back on the situation and wish he had a do-over. Not to the fact that he asked to be traded. Hey, every player has a right to be traded, but how he has handled this situation as far as what has transpired the last couple days here. And the trade for Durant from his perspective, like, this doesn't force the issue. Like, for Sean Marks or Steve Nash or Joe Tsai to say, you know what? Now we've got to trade him. Now we basically have to set an artificial timeline. The offers are the offers, right? We know what the offers are going to be and what they potentially could be, and this is why this is going to linger into the regular season.
And to your point, Bobby, it just makes next month, when these guys get back together for training camp, all the more awkward, right? That's really all it does, is it makes the situation more awkward for Kevin and for the Nets, because obviously it's already going to be an awkward situation if he's still on the team and he has to be traded. Now he's asked to be traded, and he's asked for the coach at GM to be let go. And they're all going to be there together at the start of training camp. So
isn't that kind of the point, though, to make it awkward?
I mean, you could argue that if from that standpoint, it could potentially move things along. But as Bobby said, there's no reason for it to move along because the offers aren't going to change. And if anything, this is only going to give teams less incentive to increase their offers. And the Nets have shown over the past 6 weeks they don't like what they have.
And I think how this can work is for the team meeting, first night of team meeting, for Kevin Durant to get up and say, hey, as long as I'm a part of this Brooklyn team, I'm going to try to win as many games as possible. I'm going to try to help Seth Curry get that next contract. I'm going to help T.J. Warren kind of, rehabilitate, from that injury here. And when I'm not here, then I'm not part of the team. But as long as I am here, I am going to help this team. And because who knows, we could be talking a year from now that Kevin Durant is still on this Brooklyn Nets roster.
He's under contract for 4 more years.
And we've said it all along that they are waiting for the perfect trade package to come along. It hasn't come along, and it might not come along for a long time here.
Well, and the other thing, and we've talked about this too, Ramona. This situation reminded me for a long time what happened with Kobe Bryant with the Lakers a long time ago, right? Go back 15 years. Kobe wanted out. There were all these talks with the Bulls. It was all public because he had a no trade clause. They were debating offers back and forth for months, right? It was a huge thing. And ultimately, Kobe stayed on the Lakers. They got to the finals that season. They won the next 2 championships. Like, I'm not guaranteeing that Kevin Durant's going to be the rest of his contract or that the Nets are going to win championships, but it would not be the first time that we've seen a situation go like this and then turn around again. That is possible.
Because, I was sitting at home. It's June 30th. I'm about 3 weeks after the baby's born. And, usually you're pretty checked out, right? You're like, okay, I've got a lot to handle. But this stuff happens, and I'm in it. And I just couldn't help but go on Twitter. I was like, Kevin Durant can want out, but they don't. This was June 30th. I couldn't help it. As seismic as this KD news is, I'm old enough to remember Kobe going on LA radio, literally 5 different shows on LA radio, and requesting a trade, saying he'd rather play on Pluto than the Lakers were looking for trades and not doing it, then Kobe winning an MVP and LA going to the finals the next year. Essentially, he had the same very public conversation, although this is not public. Kevin Durant didn't go on any radio shows.
Way more public.
Yeah, Kobe was way more public. Name on the quotes. This isn't Jimmy Butler in practice in Minnesota or Kobe on the radio in Minnesota or in LA. Yep. This is a superstar wanting out, communicating that behind the scenes in private meetings with the owners, all of which eventually leaked out. Now, when nothing has happened, this situation has been forced further. But if you're another team, Bobby, and this is the part I think that goes around that speaks to the rest of the league. What gives you the confidence to make a great offer for Kevin Durant right now, knowing that he's already requested a trade for a team that he just signed a 4-year, $198 million extension on?
In theory, all 29 teams should be lined up right now. But
in theory.
In theory, right?
We're going back to on paper again, Bob.
Yeah, in theory. But in reality, there's only 4 or 5 that can go out and make this deal. And I've said this, when I was in New Jersey, we went out and got Darren Williams from Utah. But that was a little bit different here because we knew that Williams was still in the prime of his career. The Durant situation is interesting. We've said all along he's got 4 years left on his contract. When those 4 years are done, that's it, right? He'll be 38, 39, 38 years old. There's not another contract coming. It's not like going out and getting Scotty Barnes in a deal or going out and getting Jaylen Brown in a deal who's still in the prime of their career. So we basically have eliminated 24 teams. I mean, the best team out there would be the Knicks. I mean, we haven't talked about the Knicks at all in this situation here. And I've worked in Brooklyn, and I would not trade Kevin Durant to the Knicks. I mean, you might as well move back to East Rutherford. if that's going to be the case. But the Knicks would be the ideal situation because they've got 8 draft picks. They've got all these young players. They've got young players, R.J. Barrett here. So you eliminate them because we're not going to trade with the Knicks. We're not going to Orlando. They're not going to go out and get him. Sacramento or Oklahoma City, Houston. So the field certainly shrinks there.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.